try this right now. And we're live! Welcome to this mess that I'm creating today. How's it going there, guys? How's it going?
Good.
You know the one thing I haven't done?
What?
Gone to get my beer. So Alan, entertain the folks while we do this.
I can do that. I can do that, but be fast, all right? Okay, so this is episode 185 of the Crafty Boys. We're trying something new. We're streaming to like a whole bunch of places. We're like beaming it off of the moon from satellites and everything. So we're trying something a bit new, so bear with us. Hopefully it's working. We have something a little bit different. Ambassadors. We have something a little bit different tonight. So Dave picked the beer this week, and Dave, what did you pick?
It wasn't really my pick, but
it wasn't really your pick. Okay.
Well, we had talked about a couple options, and they both kind of blew up in our faces, apparently. Right. But
what do you have, Dave?
I have Wake and Cake from Strathcona.
Right.
So okay, that was one of our choices.
Okay, so now I was able to get the Wake and Cake from Strathcona as well. Shane, on the other hand, because he lives on the mainland, could not find it. And he actually called the Strathcona Brewing Company.
I did. I called them and I said, "Hey guys, can this be a thing?" And they said, "Probably not. The person that I talked to was standing beside the sales guy, the guy that actually deals with the beer in town, and he said, no one has it. It's all gone. There might be some on the island, but he doesn't. Somebody else does that section of the province. So
right,
he could have called him, and I said, no, it's not that important. So yeah, so there you go.
So the other option was to go with Cake from Longwood Brewing. This is a beer I was also able to find. So there is Cake from Longwood. It's a seasonal. Dave, unfortunately, could not get his hands on it, nor could Shane. So we decided to say, screw it. We're all going to do our own beers this week. So Dave is going to be drinking from Strathcona Wake and Cake. I'm going to be drinking Cake from Longwood. And Shane, what are you going to be drinking?
Well, I happen to see this. We have run into this brewery before. But the beer that I chose this time is this one. Where's my camera? There it is. Jagged Face IPA from Arrowsmith Brewing. We've looked at one of their beers. We were going to do it some time ago, but I don't think that's happened so far. So
I've always stayed away from them as a choice because I've always kind of made the guess that you, Shane, wouldn't be able to get your hands on it.
Well, they had a whole bunch there. They had Jagged Face, and they had, I think, 3 other ones. Now, I know that I've seen it there before, but I don't know how often I've seen it, so it might actually be me living in a dream world. But anyway, other than that, who knows?
Let's start with Dave. Dave, sample your beer and tell us what you think. Okay, so the Waking
I'm giggling because Alan's already let us know in no uncertain terms.
No. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
I won't spoil it. I'm just saying.
Go ahead. Give your.
Well, it smells good. From what I can smell.
So on the Wake and Cake can, it says this stout is packed with cherries, 30 kilograms of cocoa nibs with Carafa Type 3 Special and Maris Otter malts, oats, East Kent Gold, and Warrior hops. Very dark, creamy with big chocolate notes and cherry goodness. What do you think, Dave?
I don't know. It sounds like it's a bad idea.
No, it's. I like it.
Dave likes it. He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Give it to Mikey. He'll eat anything. It's kind of like I can pick up the sharpness of the nibs.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like they've got a bit of a sharpness to them when you eat cocoa nibs.
Yeah.
Or cacao nibs or whatever they're supposed to be called.
Yeah.
So yes, I don't mind it. I am surprised given, and I won't spoil it, Alan, don't worry, given what Alan said about this. It's completely different from what I was expecting.
Okay, fair enough. So now I'll give it away now. So I had bought a 4-pack of the Waking Cake in preparation for this, and because I only have 4, because I have 4 and I only need 1 for the show. I had one a couple of nights ago, and I wasn't too fond of it. I thought it was a little bit too sweet. The taste of the cocoa nibs and the cherries was kind of overpowering. Actually, it was just too much. Then I had another one last night, and I felt a little bit about it. I found it to be a little bit more palatable when I had one last night.
Huh.
So I don't know. Maybe it was my mood. I don't know.
So did you go in expecting something different?
No, I don't think so.
No.
It's just when I first had it, it was the sweetness that really grabbed me, and I was like, ugh, this is way too sweet. I'm not expecting this. I mean, you do expect a little bit of sweetness with the stout, but this seemed overpowering to me.
Huh.
Yeah.
Very, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I think the difference is you're a real beer guy and I'm not.
Maybe.
Because to me, the sweetness thingy, that was, I mean, obviously that was the first thing that jumped out at me because that was your comment earlier, right? And to me, it's not. Which is, I guess, why I'm saying I like it. I think it's kind of interesting. But I kind of get the impression from what I was hearing from both you guys that this wasn't exactly a hit for Strathcona.
Well, it doesn't sound like they're going to be making it again.
Yeah.
So whatever stock still remains, and there is stock. The place where I went, there was actually quite a fair number of these still available. But apparently, according to the fellow that Shane spoke to, they will not be making this again.
Yeah, he did. He indicated that it was a fun thing to do, but they're not sure. He doubts they'll do it again. He didn't specifically say why. Because I was just Joe Blow calling, asking about stuff. So, but otherwise, I mean, what else can you do? I mean, not a whole lot.
I'm curious about cost because they say they put in a lot of nibs, right? Are those not fairly pricey?
I don't know. I guess maybe they probably got a bulk discount.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So moving along to the cake because we got 3 beers to cover. So cake from Longwood is what I'm having. This is another seasonal. It is a stout. It's a chocolate raspberry stout. It says on it, no fork needed for this cake. Our sweet stout is layered with dark chocolate notes, followed by tart raspberry and long, smooth finish. Not just good for breakfast, but also enjoyed as a dessert or a light snack. Or, pardon me, a late night snack. Whereas the Waking Cake comes in at 6.8% alcohol by volume. The cake from Longwood Brewing in Nanaimo comes in at 5%. And I believe they do have an IBU rating on it, although it's not all that impressive. It is 26. I'm surprised it's that high, actually. So comparatively to the Waking Cake, I find cake from Longwood to be much more palatable. It's not, you get the flavor of the chocolate and the cherries, but it doesn't have that sweetness to it. You can actually, it tastes like a beer is what it tastes like. So it tastes like a stout with a hint of cherries and chocolate that kind of is reminiscent of a Black Forest cake. And that's all I've got to say about it, because you guys don't have anything to go off of. So.
Well, it's a bit of a shame that we couldn't do a side-by-side comparison, because I am really curious now what the difference would be.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised, Dave, that you couldn't find this.
I struck out with everything, man. It was ridiculous. Everything.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, their stock was a little. That's the weirdest part about it. You'd think that in Vancouver you'd have the easiest time of it, of any of the three of us.
Well, I thought so too, because the brewery is like, you could, if there were no buildings in the way and the land was completely flat, I could see it. It would be right there. Right. But
although couldn't we all say that about everything? That if there's no buildings in the way and the flat, it would be right there. Yeah. So Shane, tell us about your beer.
It's good. Let me actually find there's a description on here. Canadian Pale and Munich malts complement select tropical hops, including Sentinel, Citra, and Amarillo, to create a flavorful version of a well-balanced and powerful IPA at currently 7.2%, with a hopometer rating of about, it looks like 85. So on the hopometer, the international beer units. But essentially, yeah, it's got all kinds of cool stuff going on. But I think ultimately, it's not a terrible IPA. I don't quite understand the Jagged Face. I mean, it is a mountain thing, but they don't have a wonderful story on the bottle, is what I'm saying. Like, we have those beers where they have that really cool story, and then we laugh, and there's something weird going on that we can do, but or we can enjoy. But overall, no, this is just basically it's trying to go after, it's somewhere in between Fat Tug and Hop Circle, if you guys remember what Hop Circle tastes like. So yeah, that one. I'm not sure if you've had it. Well, we haven't had it on the show, I don't think.
No, we have not had it on the show.
Oh, okay. We've talked about it. I think that's why I'm remembering it. We've talked about it.
So overall, yeah, I mean, it's something that we can enjoy and have fun with. But ultimately, but for this particular beer, Jagged Face IPA, decent IPA, but it's not screaming out loud, and there's a bit too much aftertaste in the Amarillo-y side of things. At least from what I'm not sure exactly what hop I'm tasting here, but that's kind of what it feels like. So yeah, I don't know what else to say other than it's a good beer. There's nothing wrong with it. But I might have to have it again, like maybe a couple times, to really get a flavor, sort of,
or to get really drunk.
With that too. At 7.2%, it wouldn't take much. But I mean, hey, this beer, I give it a thumbs up. It's not bad. But I've liked what Arrowhead has done before. Now, Arrowhead is it
Arrowhead or Mount Arrowhead?
Mount Arrowhead, sir. Sorry, I can say Arrowhead. Mount Arrowsmith. Sorry.
Arrowsmith, yes, Mount Arrowsmith.
But I should have actually looked this up beforehand. But Mount Arrowsmith. I know they're on the island somewhere. I just don't know where.
Should be Nanaimo, I think.
According to the map address, they're in the middle of nowhere. Oh wait, sorry, that's. Let me put the word brewing in the search, not the actual mountain. They're in Parksville. So Now, the other one
which
that
is also the middle of nowhere. So
yeah, pretty much. The one that I see here, the only one that I see here on a regular basis is the Salish Sea Pale Ale. I see that quite often. The Jagged Face, it's a new one I've never seen before. Did win second place in the British Columbia Beer Awards for last year. And the World Bureau in the World Beer Awards, their Arrowsmith Blonde Ale won the world's best golden ale in 2018.
Oh wow!
So, and also the Arrowsmith Blonde Ale won first place in the BC Beer Awards in 2017. So I don't know. I think we're gonna have to start watching these guys a little closer because otherwise
they're producing some good beer.
Yeah, exactly, and I can attest to this. I know that I've had the Salish Sea. I have a suspicion I drank it on an episode a long time ago when we had multiple beers going on. I don't remember though because I was probably intoxicated. But but they also have a couple other ones. One called the Comfortably Chum Hefeweizen and the Low Pressure Porter.
Yes.
So
I've seen all of those. I've never tried them, but I've seen them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. I've seen the Salish Sea, but I've never seen this Jagged Face. And I have not seen any of the other ones either. Now, granted, I was wanting to pick something up that I know we hadn't had, so I grabbed it. I know they did have other bottles there on the shelf at the beer store today. I didn't happen to pause long enough to actually notice that they had. So, yeah, something we should... beer we have to look forward to at some point in the future. So, I think this is good beer.
Yeah. So I think we got basically 3 thumbs up today is what it sounds like.
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty hard for us to screw stuff up.
Right.
So, what is the article that you have here this week?
So apparently, and this was announced very recently. And now the article, here it comes. So BC Ferries is going to test selling beer and wine starting in June, it sounds like, on the run between Swartz Bay and Tsawwassen. The beer and wine.
I have no problem with that.
The beer and wine will be for sale in the, and this is what I'm a bit confused about. It will be sold only in the buffet. So the buffet is sort of like you pay one price to get in. You can eat as much as you want. But apparently the beer and the wine will be sold separately. I don't know how that's going to work. And you can only buy like 1 or 2. And that's it.
Yes, because of the fact that technically, by definition, the BC Ferries are indeed a, how shall I say, highway system.
Yes.
So, so there in theory are vehicles, and there's really no way for anyone to say, I am only a walk-on passenger. I don't need to follow your rules. Well, sadly, that's actually not a thing. So, yeah, otherwise suddenly we're going to be, policing people on the ferries more than we already do.
You just imagine. I mean, it's hard enough trying to get everybody off the ferry, it's good.
Quite honestly, I don't mind this at all. I mean, the Pacific Buffet, here's the thing. When I ride the BC ferry, where do I go? I go to one of 2 places. Not on the ferry or the Pacific Buffet. So, there you go. I always go there, and sometimes it's more expensive, other times it's cheaper. But the point is that generally I'm a walk-on, so I will go and do that because I can sit there the entire time. It's a hell of a lot quieter. And a lot of people go, "Oh, that's so much more expensive than the other place."
But isn't really.
No, it's not. It's kind of strange because I went to the buffet. I've gone to the buffet a few times, where I've actually been attentive to what the prices are. So I've paid, somewhere between, say, I think the lowest I can pay is like
breakfast is like
$15.
$17 or something.
$15, $17, somewhere in there. And then if I hit the dinner run, then it's like $25.
Yeah.
So, but I get as much food as I could possibly ever eat. I also have a wide variety of things, and it's it's a lot healthier. There's not a lot of deep frying going on.
No.
But then you go to the what's it called, the Coastal Cafe or whatever. And it is, if you add all the things together, if you want to have a drink, if you want to have this or that, it does escalate in price so fairly fast. So
on the ferry in the cafeteria, you can get a burger, fries, and a drink combo for usually about $15.
Okay.
Or you can spend an extra $10, get way more food, get like healthy vegetables, prime rib, plus all the desserts and drinks, not non-alcoholic, of course, that you can drink and eat, and for $10 more. I mean, it just seems like so much better value to me.
Oh, it totally is. I mean, it's kind of silly that, I mean, when the prices of food on the ferry started to get so close together through those two things, I'm far more interested in supporting BC Ferries through the buffet rather than through the cafeteria, because of the quality of food. So,
well,
but I want to know how much
you're actually supporting BC Ferries, because you're actually buying White Spot.
That is true. I'm actually not sure how the White Spot deal works on BC Ferries. My suspicion is that there is some sort of give and take for the branding and all that kind of stuff.
Sure, but still,
but for the buffet,
you make a good point. You make a really good point, because I guess we can't necessarily say all your money, but I'm assuming a much higher percentage of your money goes directly to BC Ferries. Whereas if you go to the cafeteria, who knows what percentage they get.
Exactly. And this is the thing about BC Ferries. They're doing some interesting things, I think, next year. It might even be this year, but BC Ferries is toying with the idea of doing a what's the word I'm looking for? They're doing a beta test, for lack of a better word, for the passenger only ferries. There's also some ideas that apparently they want to toy with going from Vancouver to Nanaimo to Victoria to sort of replicate with smaller vessels that are passenger only, going from like essentially the harbor to harbor thing. So BC Ferries in theory would be coming in on the by the hotels and stuff like that. So that's kind of a cool idea. I don't know if it's actually going to fly.
I don't think it will. And the reason for that is there's already private companies, or at least one private company, that is doing that. The fare is high. I think it's like $85 round trip or something, just to be a walk on, to go from downtown to downtown. And people just aren't using it.
True.
Because that's a shit ton of money.
Well, yeah, they would rather go out to Swartz Bay and hop on a ferry for way less money and go to Tsawwassen and just take the bus to the SkyTrain at the airport and then the SkyTrain in. It's a little bit longer, but you're going to save a lot of money.
Or if you're at that level, I can see people saying, screw it, I'm taking the damn
seaplane,
airplane. Yeah.
That's the thing, is that if you get a bundle of tickets and all these kinds of things, you can actually do essentially what am I trying to say? The saver fares, whatever the equivalent for is for the planes, and you could get them as cheap as like $100. And I know that there's a lot of per trip, one way
per trip.
Which, if you don't have a vehicle, is completely insane. unless you want to treat yourself, sure, why not? But if you have a car and a trailer, assuming you're one person, I mean, I'm not saying that, it makes sense but, in theory, you could have upwards of like, $150. Now, the goal that BC Ferries wants to do is they want to make sure to keep the prices as low as possible, obviously, without completely having none of the revenue from passengers, being able to keep the system going. But because we're always going to be subsidizing it because it's a public service, which I'm totally fine with. But remember about, I don't know, 15 years ago when BC Ferries had that whole idea, or sorry, BC Ferries, some organization wanted to see what it would cost again to build bridges between Vancouver Island and whatnot.
Yeah.
And every single time that happened, it just wouldn't fly because one-way trips between the island and the mainland for the tolls. And I think the last time, this must be 2005 or 4, somewhere in there, but the tolls became, one way was like $500 for a car. And
what?
But the toll would last for like 25 years.
Yeah.
Like it was a long time. Like it wasn't just like 5 years. You kind of like, well, okay. It was for a long, long time.
Okay.
Because the problem is, if you stand on the shore and you look at Vancouver Island, you can see it way off in the distance. But what you're forgetting is just how flippin' deep it is here. Because the strait is very deep in a lot of places. And the shortest run between the mainland and Vancouver Island is somewhere near Nanaimo. But that would also mean that the bridge would have to start somewhere around Horseshoe Bay. But there's no logical place that makes any sense on the Sunshine Coast or in West Van to start a bridge. It's just, there's nothing, you can't do it. It's either too rocky or there's already existing development there. Like, Will Smith's Vancouver home. So it's these things, right, that there's logistics that are almost next to impossible. And not to mention half the bridge would have to be above water, half the bridge would have to be underwater because of all the traffic for tankers and all kinds of things. And it just becomes, it just gets to the point where it's completely, it's illogical to do it because
it's expensive.
It's too bloody deep. I mean, essentially, and the bridge would have to float on the water. That's the other thing. It wouldn't be a bridge up in the air. It would float, and then it would dive underwater. I don't know how that would work if it's floating underwater somewhere, but it would have to float pretty deep because some of these ships are quite deep in there. They have a significant hull. So, So it just got to the point where, the tickets to get one way were like $500 for a car, and it was more. Like that was the bottom price. That was the cheapest one, and it got more expensive. So who's going to spend that when you can have a BC ferry system that can do the job a lot less? Even I mean, yes, we're subsidizing it, but true. I have to have a shout out here to Weekend Nachos, who's left a chat message in our stream here. I think he said this before.
He wants us to try that Old English
800. It's really fancy. So I think that's the beer for next week, boys. I don't know what to say other than we have to do it because Old English 800, I mean, it's technically a craft beer.
Is it? Is it really?
No, it's not.
I thought it was antifreeze.
Well, it's malt liquor. Now, here's the thing. I don't really understand malt liquor at all, except that it's a very popular and cheap alcohol, because the alcohol I think is somewhere it's about 8-9%, something like that, if I remember correctly. But but it doesn't fall under the craft brewing thing that we here at this show want to keep going with. But I don't know. We've had 2 requests or 3 requests actually. I think now from Weekend Nachos. So maybe we should all go and get a 40 each and give it a try and see what happens.
Oh my god!
I mean, technically, where is it originally from? Let me actually search this up here. Malt liquor and Old English 800 paste. Okay, I'll go to the Wikipedia page. Initially introduced in 1964, but it was actually a rebrand from a beer called Ruff's Old English Stout, RUFF, from Duluth, Minnesota. This gets better. Was later sold to a brewery in Spokane called Bohemian Breweries, and then to Blitz Weinhard of Portland, Oregon, where it became Old English 800, where previously it was called Old English 600 or 400, something like that. Anyway. And Blitz Weinhard was then sold to Pabst Brewing Co. in 1979. Old English malt liquor is their top brand. That is terrifying.
I would have thought that the Blue Ribbon was.
Whatever.
I don't know. Well, anyway, so it's manufactured by Miller Brewing Company. It's Miller time. Yeah, I don't know, man. A malt liquor is
Tell you what. Weekend Nachos, you get some Old English 800. You drink it and report to us. Tell us what it's like if you're still alive.
Malt liquor is a beer with a high alcohol content. Legally, it often includes alcoholic beverage with 5% or more alcohol by volume with malted barley. Old English 800 specifically is 8%. And it is made in it's basically a lager. But malt liquor is made with malted barley, and to give a boost for the final alcohol concentration, they use things like sugar and corn syrup.
There you go.
So there you go. So the 40 ounce, or simply a 40, is 40 fluid ounces or 1.18 liters of malt liquor. I don't want to die. So essentially, there you go. So hey, I'm willing to try it. I've never actually had it in my life, but I'm willing to try it. I am willing to give it a try. I don't know whether it's a good idea. I don't know whether it's, I don't
think it's a good idea, but you know what? I'd be willing to try it as well. Next time we're all together, that's what we're going to do.
Done and done.
All right.
Okay.
All right, boys. Well, that is our time. We have hit the half-hour mark, which we promise is the time that will be quiet. So you could go off quietly and drink your beer in a quiet corner of your home. Something.
Whatever. Yeah.
But please do follow us, spread the word. Make sure that you guys are telling people about this show, because we are going to start streaming on multiple places, in multiple time zones, in multiplicity.
Multiple planets,
yes. So, word.